Democratic New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, in his State of the City address, has called for a minimum wage increase that would rise to $15 per hour by 2019. De Blasio did take office promising that he would push for a change in state law that allows the city to set its own minimum wage, and he now has laid out some pretty concrete steps. He called for a raise to $13 per hour in 2016, and then automatic increases adjusted for inflation after that, eventually bringing the New York City minimum wage to $15 per hour. Now, bear in mind that inflation adjustments don't actually increase the wage relative to prices. They simply allow the wage to keep up with the increase in prices. We currently, today in the U.S., have a federal minimum wage that is below that of 1968 if you adjust for inflation. So this is good, Louis, that Bill de Blasio is doing this. But at the same time, when we talk about inflation adjustments, those are not real increases.
Not well. It depends on who you ask, right?
I mean, of course, they are increases relative to no increase at all. But what I mean is the idea that we are now overpaying based on inflation adjustments is wrong because the pay remains equal relative to prices.
That's right. But if you are the CEO of a company that has many employees, or maybe just a small business that has a few employees, you might not want to pay them 5 cents an hour extra. But, it's, I don't know, it's everyone's, that's how you interpret it. They think it's going to hurt their businesses.
For those who have not been following what's been going on locally in New York City with regard to fast food restaurants and the minimum wage, there have been a number of strikes. I would even venture to say any number of strikes by fast food workers demanding at least $15 an hour, including the original one-day strike 2 years ago, which I remember seeing at a Wendy's shortly thereafter, very close to our studio in Lower Manhattan here. And San Francisco, with the argument that Louis brought up, which was not his argument, but the argument that many do make, that this is going to hurt business. We saw in San Francisco was way ahead of the curve with significant minimum wage increases, including within the fast food industry, which is one that detractors of minimum wage increases often say, hey, that's the type of place that is going to be really negatively affected by increases to the minimum wage. Absolutely no negative impact. Employment growth in San Francisco surpassing the average employment growth in the country. No problem whatsoever. New York City is a very expensive city to live in. And at minimum, we need to be keeping up with inflation. But since we haven't since 1968, I believe that this is absolutely the right thing to do, Louis. It's the moral and ethical thing to do.
The governor and the mayor both agree that there should be some type of minimum wage hike. And unfortunately, when they implement these, it does take several years usually for to reach that wage.
And during that time, inflation continues to increase prices.
It does, and also during that time, it could be reversed. It could be repealed by someone else in office. But anyway, of course, I hope this happens.
Minimum wage in New York, when you have $2,300 studio apartments renting in Manhattan and much of Brooklyn and parts of Queens as well, minimum wage is just rarely going to cut it in any significant way.